Welcome to Swell Session Episode 12, presented by the Well Studio. I'm your host, Jen Sprinkle. This is our 8th podcast of a special series for our Prayers for the Dreamer book club. Today's interview is with Megan Burns of She Does Justice. I chat with Megan about her heart for serving not just those around the globe, but those right in her neighborhood. Her story is one of how God took a personal need she and her family had and grew it in God-sized ways to serve thousands around the globe. On a call with Megan Burns of She Does Justice. Hey, Megan.
Hey, so glad to be chatting.
Thank you so much for being on with us today. We're really excited this month about our book club and all the engagements that's going on. And Megan has written the chapter on serving, and so we just wanted to have her on today and talk about some of my favorite parts of her prayer that she wrote. But first, Megan, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, and a little bit about She Does Justice, your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Megan Burns. I'm a wife and a mom to 5 little ones. My husband and I both grew up in the Minneapolis area, and 2 years ago, almost exactly, actually this month, we moved down to Phoenix, Arizona. So that's where we are now. I am personally super passionate about giving back and just empowering women to feel like they can make a difference. And I was adopted as an infant domestically, and so adoption's always been a big just piece of my life story, I guess, and always been passionate about that. My husband and I didn't necessarily think that we would adopt ourselves, but then, now it's been about 3 years ago, the Lord really put it on our heart to adopt. So our daughter Shiloh, we adopted her from the Congo. And that is actually how She Does Justice started. When we started our adoption process, we realized that we had about $40,000 to raise and had about $0 of that saved up, since it wasn't necessarily a part of the plan. So I taught myself how to sew, and I started sewing scarves and selling them to friends, and that is sort of how She Does Justice was birthed. And that was the majority of how we raised our funds, just by people who loved us buying scarves and headbands and things like that. And so now it's been so great since our daughter has been home now for about 2 years. It's been so awesome to see how the Lord has just grown this little adoption fundraiser into this community of people who are passionate about serving and giving back and just rallying around people who are doing great work in their neighborhood or across the globe, because we sort of just shifted our focus, or how we work with causes with She Does Justice, but each month now we give back to different causes in different avenues, like adoption and orphan prevention and anti-sex trafficking and things like that. So we get to sort of empower our customers, who have become many of our friends now, and they get to choose where their order is supporting in terms of a cause that they're passionate about. So I was really excited about that. So that's a little bit about me.
That's so awesome, because I love how, and we see it all the time, and just how God can use something that you thought was so, just personal to your life, which was raising, the money that you needed for your personal adoption, and grew it into being able to serve and support other people. I love seeing those stories happen over and over again, and I just think that's so cool. Well, of course, you can probably understand why we reached out to Megan and had her write this chapter, this prayer on serving. And I just wanted to read a couple of lines from her prayer, and just the ones that kind of stood out to me. And one, in the first paragraph, it says, "I want to stand up for justice for people in my neighborhood and on the other side of the globe." And I love that line, because we can sometimes, and you mentioned this just a second ago, we can sometimes be so, and the news does this to us, we can be so focused on global issues that we can tend to not see the issues in our next door to us. For instance, I had a neighbor just last week who was domestically abused, and got to go into her home and sit and pray for her, because at that moment was just available. And I think I'm guilty, and that was a God moment, but because I can be guilty of being so busy as a dreamer and a doer, which is, kind of who this is for, but that I lose sight of just who's next door to me. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you've seen that in your own life? Because you do serve so many global issues, like the sex trafficking and things like that, which is so awesome that you're able to do that on the level you are.
Yeah, I think, the reason the Lord really, I think, brought that out. I know we've talked about that before a little bit, about how writing this prayer about serving it was so just really cool to see how the Lord was speaking to me, and how it was just this time where I got to think about the things that He has been teaching me, but the things that He continues to teach me, and probably will always be teaching me. But I think that it is so important to not lose sight of the things in our own neighborhood, and I think that there's always a place to serve, and I think that was mostly my heart in that, is that, please, if you don't already know sort of the country or the people group or the cause that you're passionate about, pray about that, because I'm so confident, and I promise you that the Lord will put someone or something on your heart. And this going to Africa and serving in a way is no greater than or less than serving your neighbor who was abused, right? It's just, how do we really take what the Lord has given us a heart for and do something with it? And I think that you're right with saying that the news sort of is focused on a lot of the big things that are going on, and it's so important to be aware of that stuff, but to not let that overshadow the things that you can be doing in your community or in your home or in your neighborhood, with just being the hands and feet of Christ. And I think that when we get really focused on the bigger things, the bigger issues, or the international issues, it can sometimes feel overwhelming for the mom at home or the woman who is starting her business and wants to give back something. And it can feel overwhelming to think, what can I do, or how can I get involved in that big thing? And so just having the perspective and staying grounded in knowing and trusting that you can make a difference right where you are in this moment, in this life stage. You don't have to wait until your kids are older. You don't have to wait until your business is more established, or you're married, or you have kids, whatever it is. The Lord can use you right now if you let Him. So just having an open hand with that, and just really trusting that He has equipped you and given you the passions to make a difference in the way that He has called you to, is really sort of my heart behind that, and what the Lord keeps pressing into me, right?
Yeah, and I love that you bring, like, you brought about this idea that pray about how God wants to use you, and where He wants you to serve. Like, I love that you talk about that be intentional about praying exactly where to serve. And also what you said about life stage. And I think that is so important, because, and also a business model. I was thinking about that too, that your business model is specifically kind of a give back business model. You're very intentional. That is how it is. But there are women whose businesses, just speaking specifically about business owners, who maybe their business model is, I have a graphic design and branding business. So my business model isn't necessarily a give back model, but with being able to pray through, okay, how can I use a portion of my profits to connect with something I'm passionate about? And just, again, what you said about just praying over that, and what that looks like. And it could be so personal, like a friend in need. It could be a global issue. It could be a local organization. And So I just love that idea, just praying through that.
Yeah.
And it brings me to another line that I really like that you wrote in the second paragraph. Help me to find the balance between using all that I have and all that I am to fight for that cause and the responsibility I have to my family and my business. Can you maybe talk a little bit to that? Because I know there's a lot out there about identifying your gifts and your calling and your purpose, and how to use those gifts to serve. And yet, with all things, the enemy can come in and create confusion and unbalance. And so, can you just talk about that and how you've navigated that with building a business that does intentionally get back and serve, and then just staying aware of not giving your all to that, or that's probably not the best way to word it, but finding that balance between
Right. Yeah.
giving and your home and your family.
Yeah, this is definitely something that especially my husband and I have had to sort of navigate with each other as just the shop has grown and the mission has grown and our family has grown and all of those things. But like what you said is She Does Justice was set up sort of from the beginning with we were really wanting to give back a percentage each month. And that was not always easy when we were at the end of the month and we were looking at just the bottom line and things like that.
Yeah.
In many months we had to trust that the Lord was gonna honor us in that, because I knew that I said I was going to do it, so I needed to follow through, right? And it's one of those things where I knew that no one else would know but me and the Lord,
right,
but I still needed to honor that. And it was not always the easiest decision, but the Lord for sure always came through and honored us in that. But I think that, so something I want to point out first is that it doesn't always need to be money, right? It can be giving your time and your talents, and it absolutely can be money, but it doesn't need to be. So I think for some people, especially if their business, because I do get asked this question a lot of how do I even begin to give back, or how do I even begin to work with a cause through my shop or things like that. And I like to point out that it doesn't always have to be money, because especially as you're getting started, you may not be able to do that, or it may not look the way that you want it to look, or that you may want your end goal to look like, right? It may be you helping mentor someone or teaching someone who needs a job a skill so that she can then go out and get a job. Or maybe it's you work from home, so you're able to do something in your home for your friend who needs to go do something, whatever it is. It's just thinking outside of the box and getting creative if you're not able to monetarily give back, I think. So don't get stuck I would encourage people to not get stuck in the box of thinking that it has to be a check that you're writing at the end of the month. But I also think that it is a hard thing, especially when you're passionate about something, to find the balance of how much do I give in this area, and then so that I'm able to still honor my family over here. And that is still something, gosh, I feel like the Lord will be teaching me that until the day I die, of finding this balance of how passionate I am to encourage other women and work with them to just really help them believe and know that they can make a difference, and just encourage them in the different ways that they're doing that and all of those things. But if I'm not investing in my husband, if I'm not investing in my kids, if the people that are my people at home, if I'm not right with them, then all of this stuff over here doesn't really mean anything, or I wouldn't feel the contentment in my spirit and my soul that I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So it's finding that balance of, and I mean, you can even tie that in with money. If you're starting out with a business and your family needs that income to pay your bills at the end of the month, then you need to honor your family in that too. And I'm not saying don't give back, but maybe that's one of the months that it's your time that you're giving, or maybe that's you just working that out with the Lord and trusting Him that He's gonna bless your business in that, because you need to help your family. I think that it's so hard sometimes for women to find that balance, especially when they're really passionate about something and care a lot about something. But that's what keeps us humble, right? Is if we keep our priorities straight and we're first with the Lord, then make sure we're right with our family. And then in the overflow that we have, we're able to give and serve and encourage and all of those things to the people around us. That I feel like in my life is when I know I'm sort of in my sweet spot for where the Lord has me.
Yeah, and I love what you said about thinking outside of the box, that being able to give and serve through even time, and your giftedness, I think is really a good point. And then what you said about your family and priorities, because I know what my personal story, just in my journey of building a business, I remember my husband, coming to me one day and saying, I just don't know if I want to be married to a CEO. And it was a result of all the time I was pouring into building this thing, and I was neglecting him and investing in that. And so they can and will become your biggest fans in what you're doing. And that is only furthered when the priorities are where they should be. So I love that you talk about that, and that you see that as so important. That's so great. Well, is there any, as we end this call, I would love to, do you have any ways that you would love to just kind of encourage this community of dreamers and doers as they prayerfully seek how the Lord wants them to serve? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny, I always say my battle cry in life is just that I want people, specifically women, to know that they can make a difference, and that looks a million different ways for a million different people, but know that there isn't one way, and that if you pray about it and you just keep your hands open, the Lord is going to give you passions for somebody or something, if it's a country or a people group or a cause in general, that he just sort of sparks a fire in your heart for. Don't ignore that. Please don't ignore that. And then just look for ways that you can pursue that. If it's just praying for people, if it's seeking out people in your community, if it's supporting organizations that are loving people well across the globe, whatever it is, I promise you that the Lord will give you a space to serve and to use those passions, and then will use the talents that He's gifted you with to be His hands and feet, to love on these people. So just know that you can make a difference, and you are making a difference already. So just be encouraged, and please connect with me on social media and things like that. I would just love to. I genuinely love how the Lord is growing this community of just truth speakers and just people lovers on Instagram and things like that. It's just so inspiring to me, just in my own personal walk with the Lord and day-to-day life. So thank you for that. And I just want to thank you guys for this book. Gosh, it was such an honor to be included in that and a part of it, and it's been such a blessing for me, and I'm really excited about this book club this summer. I think it's an awesome time to just take some time with the Lord and be intentional about it and praying through these things that are so important, especially to women who are passionate dreamers, because that is definitely the category I would put myself in. So just thank you for including me.
No, we thank you for saying yes. I know so many people don't really know the story behind how it all happened, and just how quickly it happened, and how really you women just had to trust us, that we just asked and said, can you do this quickly? And just the women that said yes, and the heart behind these prayers has just been just so amazing to see it encourage so many people. So thank you for saying yes. And will you tell us what your, we'll include it in the post, but also what your Instagram handle is, and any other places you'd like for people to connect with you on social media?
Yeah, for sure. My Instagram handle is She Does Justice. Um, and we send out a weekly newsletter too through the shop. The shop is at shedoesjustice.com. And we send out a weekly newsletter just with some like shop deals and info and all of that, but also my prayer and my goal is to have it just be really inspiring and give you practical ways to incorporate giving back into your daily life. So you can always sign up for that newsletter too. But Instagram is She Does Justice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan, and we just thank you for being a part of our book club and our book. So
thank you so much.
Okay. For more information about our devotional, 31 Days of Prayer for the Dreamer and the Doer, and also our online community for dreamers, doers, and entrepreneurs, you can visit thewellstudio.co. Until next time, have a swell day.